Hello, fictional. Welcome to the What If Issei. Today we are gonna see what if Issei's turbulent home life led to a fresh start. Part 2. If you end up liking this video, please consider subscribe, so without further ado, let's get into the video. It had been 2 weeks since I had started my new life. The school had been notified that due to an extreme circumstance that I would be taking some time off. I don't even want to imagine what kind of rumors are going around about me right now. I am ready to get back to my human life. I love it here in heaven, but as always I'm starting to get the feeling that I don't belong. As the new Joker here in heaven, it turns out that I'm kind of a big deal, and I guess that makes my issues stick out like a sore thumb. Turns out there are a certain set of rules for reviving a person as a brave saint. And wouldn't you know it, I break all of them, or both of them rather, as there are only 2 rules. First off is that you be an exorcist or at least someone highly ranked in the church who has done something important. The rule may seem odd, but it is rather obvious. As an angel, we may at any time be tasked with defending heaven, third heaven in particular. The second rule, and the one that is probably the kicker for most people here, is that you must be part of the church, at least baptized. Sure, I believed before I died, or came really close to believing anyways. That's not really enough though, and as soon as word got out about that, everyone started asking why I was reincarnated, and well, that led to a very unpleasant conversation. 1 week prior, after hours of searching, I finally found the person I was looking for, Lady Gabriel. As regal as ever, Lady Gabriel stood in a pavilion in first heaven. It seemed she was addressing some angels whom I was not familiar with. As she turned to face me, she wore the same kind and loving expression I've come so accustomed to seeing on her face. Then, as always, when she notices me, she began to smile from ear to ear. Running up to them, I gave a quick bow and went to address Lady Gabriel. One of the 2 men faced me and they both bowed. "Ah, you must be the Joker, Issei. It is an honor to make your acquaintance." This was making me as uncomfortable as ever. "The honor is mine. If the 2 of you will excuse us," the other man said, and the 2 proceeded to fly away. Lady Gabriel watched as they flew away before turning her full attention to me. "And what can I do for my handsome Joker today?" I fidgeted, a tad uncomfortable. It wasn't as though I had done anything wrong and I meant no harm, but somehow wanting to question Lady Gabriel about something made me feel bad. It was as though I didn't trust her full when in fact I do. I just need to understand what's going on. I bowed my head low before speaking. "Gabriel, please forgive my rudeness, but I must ask, why did you save me? I am not exactly what you'd call brave saint material. There is nothing special about me. I am very grateful, so please don't misunderstand, but as I've come to learn more about heaven, everyone is asking me questions I don't have answers to. Why was I saved? Why did you use the Joker card? And why was I reborn with 4 wings?" I clenched my teeth and balled my fists, fully expecting the blow that was sure to come. I was asking questions that were probably far beyond my station. Even I understood that the wisdom of someone like Gabriel was far beyond me. To actually question her was worthy of punishment, but I couldn't help myself, so I prepared for the worst. A sudden gasp above me caused me to jerk. I slowly raised my head. Inch by inch my eyes scanned up Lady Gabriel until finally, I gazed upon her face. What I saw in that moment made me feel as bad as anything had in my entire life. Lady Gabriel's eyes were wet with tears. I knew whatever I had done wrong had been extreme, so I fell to my knees and put my head to the ground. "Please, my lady, forgive me," I begged her. "Please punish me in whatever manner you see fit." After a few rustling noises, I came to find a new pressure on my back. I thought perhaps it was the beginning of my punishment until I felt a slight shake and heard her crying. Opening my eyes and looking around, I found that my lady had knelt down and was now draped over me. Her arms wrapped around my torso as her head lay on my back. Honestly, I didn't know exactly what to feel at that moment. After a few minutes had passed, I managed a few words. "My lady, you shouldn't be on your knees. Please rise. I am not worth this." That was when she released her grip on me and started to pound her fists into my back. It didn't feel like she was really trying to hurt me though. She just pounded her hands against me in what seemed like frustration. "Idiot," she yelled. "Issei, you're such an idiot." I raised my body up until we were both kneeling upright and facing one another. She had stopped crying, but her eyes were still filled with tears. I wouldn't exactly call the expression on her face mad, more like upset or frustrated. "Did you really think I was going to hit you?" she asked me in earnest. I didn't have any response. That's exactly what I thought she'd do. I really am an idiot. That man, that horrible man. He's the reason you feel this way. There really is a special place in hell for certain people. If he doesn't repent and change his ways, of course." She had to stop here and take a breath. "You're right, Gabriel, I was being such a fool," I agreed with her to my shame. "Come now, Issei, let's stand, shall we? It wouldn't do for one of the 4 seraphim and one of heaven's great jokers to be seen on their knees, now would it?" At her behest we stood and straightened out our clothing. "When it comes to you, I believe you deserve all the answers you desire. But if you don't mind, I'll answer them in a slightly different way. Would that be alright?" I smiled at her as her usual manner returned, "As you wish, my lady. It was never my intention to suggest anything untoward or that you would hide anything for me. It's just after everything you've done for me I felt guilty asking anything of you." "Bish posh my Issei," she replied, "I am only too thrilled to supply you with any answers I can. If you are ever in need of anything, do not hesitate to come to me. After all, you are my joker. But before we get to you being a joker, would you kindly follow me?" Gabriel extended her hand to me and without hesitation I took it. I believe my lack of hesitation pleased her because she smiled at me. There are many things I want to know, but it's important to me that she knows I trust her implicitly. Then, as always, we were gone in a cross-haight flash of light. When we re-emerged I was greeted with a sight that Griselda had introduced me to on my first day in heaven. Well, my first day conscious in heaven. It was third heaven. The home for all of the souls of humans who faithfully believed in the Lord God and led a dutiful life in reverence to that. It stretches far further than the eye can see, and the number of souls here is said to be innumerable. To be honest, the only thing more impressive or perhaps frightening was the number of souls that must be in hell then. If it's much easier to fall than rise, I imagine the number below is exponentially larger. To have missed living in such paradise. I can't help but pity them. "I take it you know where we are, Issei?" Gabriel asked. I continued staring out into the masses. "Of course, my lady, this is third heaven. Home to the souls of the faithful. Perhaps the most precious place in all of heaven." She again beamed at me. "I couldn't have said it better myself, my joker. Now, what is the grand mission of heaven, from the newest born angel to the highest of all, Michael?" I pondered for a moment and then it came to me, "It's to protect this place, isn't it? Third heaven, I mean." My response awarded me another million-watt smile. "Right again, my clever boy. So it's true, when we grant people new life they must be able to somehow contribute to the mission of heaven. So the blunt answer to why I saved you would be to contribute to the safety of third heaven, but again that is a vague answer at best. So let me ask you a question, why do you think you have two sets of wings?" Answering a question with a question, how very camp counselor of her. If I'd have to guess I'd say it was because of the Joker card you used to revive me. I heard the Joker card symbolized some of heaven's greatest power. That was when she began to wave her finger at me. "No, my sweet boy. Wings are a symbol of power. And yes, the Joker card did bless you with power, but all it did was begin to open up your own potential power." "My power?" Now she'd lost me. "That's right. As a human, you did well to constantly train yourself. You were truly a warrior born and your metal was forged in the fire of your father's wrath. But even that is only a small fraction of your power. I am loath to ask you this, Issei, but do you know why the fallen angel targeted you?" Until that point, I had tried to forget that terrible moment. Yet I knew I never would. I still relived it, after all, every night in my dreams. She would seem so sweet and innocent and then turn vile and kill me, again and again. I remember asking her why, I said, but honestly I don't remember much. I was in bad shape at that moment. My mind was not all there. I do recall her saying something about a gear, a sacred gear I think. "Bingo!" Gabriel exclaimed, "Now here is the answer to a great many of your questions. It is why I could revive you without you meeting some of the usual qualifications, why you have two sets of wings, and why I used the Joker card on you. Sacred gears are tools created by God and given to very special humans. There are actually hundreds of sacred gears out there. Their uses are as varied as their number, but you, me dear, are special." At that, I slightly cocked my head in confusion. "How so, my lady?" Her expression momentarily soured, and she stayed quiet waiting for me to correct myself. "How so, Gabriel?" Such a simple thing, and yet her smile came back full force. "I do love hearing you say my name. On to the matter at hand though. The top 10 sacred gears are known as the Longinus. The Longinus are all weapons of incredible power capable of fantastic things. We have discerned that yours specifically is known as the boosted gear." "Boosted gear?" "Yes," she replied, "the boosted gear houses the spirit of a great dragon, the Welsh dragon Dreg. Dreg, along with his eternal rival, another dragon, tore through all three realms during the great war between angels, fallen angels, and demons. These two selfish dragons fought one another and in their wake caused countless casualties on both sides. In a temporary truce, the three factions aligned with one another to bring down the two great beasts, and it was from there that God sealed them in the sacred gears." Wow, that's amazing. I couldn't begin to believe that I held something with that much power, so what does that really mean? "Oh, you bad boy," her smile turned into more of a mischievous grin, "you just want all my secrets. Well, I'll tell you whatever you wish, just don't ask my measurements if you. I knew I was being teased, but that didn't stop me from blushing. "Gabriel, please." Fine, I'll tell you them if you really must know," she continued. No, I started panicking, trying to covering my eyes and ears simultaneously, not knowing which to block out. "I just meant about the sacred gear." With a small pout on her face, she continued, "Well fine, but if you really want to know all you have to do is ask." Where was I? Oh yes, your sacred gear has the ability to boost your power by double every 10 seconds. It is said that the wielder of this sacred gear could even kill a god. This is one of those moments in life where you can only say one thing, wow. Her smile was gentle and thoughtful, but lacking its usual exuberance which told me immediately something was wrong. There was something else she needed to tell me. Perhaps another reason she brought me here. Try as I might though I couldn't come up with anything. As she leaned against the railing looking out over third heaven, I gently reached out and put my hand on hers. Gabriel, I would never do anything to harm you or heaven in any way with this power. Silly boy, she said gently as she turned her gaze to me, of that, I have no doubt. You seem to be able to sense my discomfort and you are correct in that assertion. Though my issue has nothing to do with you per se, but something I must tell you. Something you have a right to know as a Joker of heaven. There were many casualties of the Great War Issei. And among them were the original 4 Satans of hell and God. Silently I listened as she got whatever she needed to say off of her chest when her last words finally resounded within me. Wait a second. God is dead. God of the Bible, the Lord of the entire place. If that's true then how is any of this still possible? I forced myself to remain calm, but at the same time, I was riddled with questions. Quietly I tried to put the pieces together, but try as I might I was at a crossroads. Too many things I couldn't understand. All I could do is wait patiently as Lady Gabriel finished her explanation. With a breath, she finally continued, yes, our great father perished. We have done our best to keep things operational, but to be honest, things could be better. Michael stays at the helm of things to ensure that the system God put in place keeps running. Because of him miracles still occur, blessings still work, and the same could be said for exorcisms. We obviously can't tell people this though. Think about what it would do to the faithful. I would like to believe they could handle it, but please understand that it's just a risk we can't take. Whatever she was going to say ended as I wrapped my arms around her waist from behind her, causing the words to die on her lips. She had lost herself in the explanation. It was rough for me to hear, but she was his daughter. A direct child of the Almighty. My mother was beaten and it almost killed me. Her father died fighting for all creation. I knew my suffering couldn't compare to the pain she must have gone through and is probably still going through. I'm sorry to make you talk about something so painful, it wasn't going to be much, but I had to do my best to comfort her. I know it can't be easy for you, but thank you for trusting me with this. I promise you I will use whatever power I have to protect this precious gift God left. I can't imagine how you feel, but if anything I can do can help alleviate your loneliness please, don't hesitate to ask. I felt her hands on top of mine and we stood for a while like that. We gazed out over the wonder that was third heaven. I could only hope that she took some comfort in my touch as we lingered. All too soon I knew it would be time to go and she would have to return to being Lady Gabriel and I the Joker. But right now at least we could be a woman who was hurting and a man who wanted to be there for her. Perhaps man is giving me a tad too much credit, but hey I'm getting there. Eventually, she turned to me. I've come to identify Gabriel's mood by her smile, but to be honest, this one was new to me. There was love there, no doubt about that, but it was beyond what I was used to. Perhaps I had been able to become more important to her, and truly, there was nothing more I could hope for. Her hands reached out and held my face while leaning in and kissing my forehead. Thank you my Issei. You could never know what that meant to me. Here I was trying to comfort you and you turned it around on me. You always put others first don't you? Please never doubt if you belong here my boy. I have never met another soul who more belongs in heaven. Oh my sweet boy. Present. Yeah, it was an unpleasant conversation, but one that had to be had. I've even felt closer to Lady Gabriel since then. She occasionally comes by my room in the House of Hearts. We talk and I find that with each passing day I feel even more connected to her. At first, I thought it was similar to the way I felt about my mother. But for every similarity, there is a difference. For whatever it is though, I am grateful. I am now prepared for dangers that I could never have faced before. Every day I have trained with Griselda in the combat. I had thought I was a decent swordsman. I have learned otherwise. Compared to the level Griselda fights at I am still a novice, but at the level I once was compared to now I was just playing with sticks. I have also learned to wield light weapons. Similar to the one used to end my life, ironic isn't it? I have yet to unlock my sacred gear, but Gabriel and Griselda assure me that it will come in time. Griselda and I have become much closer. I have started having dreams though. Strange and bizarre dreams where I am surrounded by powerful flames. There is a massive beast there cast in shadows. It speaks to me, and yet I cannot hear its voice. I can only imagine it is not yet the time. The only other heart card that Gabriel currently has is the ace, a woman by the name of Marana. I have yet to meet her, but it seems that Griselda dreads the day I do. Apparently, Marana has a habit of teasing people. I have chosen to stay with the rest of the hearts, even though there are special quarters for the jokers. It is nice enough but I feel at home here with the hearts, and I also feel that Gabriel might be sad if I were gone. And even though she may miss me in the human world, I would never leave her side whilst in heaven. Even as I find myself feeling more at home, I know that I have another to return to. A life beyond the hallowed gates of heaven, and while I am sad that I never got to meet the other Joker, my life outside the gates beckons me. A life full of humans, demons, and fallen angels. A life full of school and people who don't want me. A life with my mother. Well, that was certainly one of the most stressful meetings of my life. Lady Gabriel and I stood in the middle of the park where I was killed not so long ago, not helping. Facing two of the lords of hell, not helping. To top it all off, the shorter of the two, who happened to be in cosplay, was glaring at me, and that was definitely not helping. Gabriel stepped forward to welcome the two. Greetings Lord Serziches Lucifer and Lady Seraphol Leviathan. I am glad to see you well. This is the child that I spoke to you about, Issei Hyoudou. He is the new Joker of Heaven. He was reincarnated a few weeks ago. If he seems to be slightly uncomfortable, that's likely because his life was ended just by that fountain. I know this is your younger sister's territory, Lord Lucifer, but his mother lives here and she is his only living relation. His father, who is currently in prison, is a detestable man who were I not a better person, would wish that he finds himself in your company sooner rather than later. The crimson-haired, elegant, somehow familiar-looking man Gabriel referred to as Lucifer replied, "Greetings to you, Lady Gabriel. It is a rare treat to see the most beautiful woman in heaven. The four Satans and I have reached a conclusion that he be allowed to live and attend school here. I hope that this will go great lengths toward the peace we wish to establish." That was the moment when the other devil finally stepped forward. "You may be alright with the Serziches, but I certainly am not. What if he tries to harm my dear Sona? I would have to bring my entire might down upon heaven." The Crimson Lord turned towards her. "Seraphol, we have already talked at great lengths about this. None of the other lords agreed with your claims. He shall be allowed to attend school here. Please, young man, step forward so that I may address you appropriately." I looked dead at the man and gave a slight bow. I realized that I had been halfway hiding behind Lady Gabriel like a 4-year-old meeting someone new for the first time, but I don't care. I am trying my hardest not to be unnerved. "Greetings Lord Lucifer, I am Issei Hyoudou." "Greetings Issei, I am happy to meet you. Please do take care here. Our sisters actually attend school with you. Perhaps you know them, Riaz Gremory and Sona Citri," Serziches replied. Of course, I answered in perhaps a somewhat surprised tone. I happen to think that Riaz is a wonderful person. She has always treated me kindly on the few interactions that I have had with her. My best friend Kiba is actually in her club in school. They have invited me to join, but I have been reluctant. My life has been rather hectic. And Sona is our student council president. She has done a marvelous job running the school in my opinion. Suddenly Lady Leviathan jumped in front of me. "Don't go getting any ideas about my Sona. If you so much as touch her, I'll..." The last thing I wanted to do was interrupt a devil king, but this woman wasn't just any devil. This had been the first time I'd gotten a good look at her. At first, she had been blocked a bit by Gabriel, and then the dark had served to conceal her well enough, especially with most of my attention on Lord Lucifer. But with that outfit and that face, it just had to be her. "Holy crap, you are magical girl Levia," I blurted out. Immediately her hostility dissipated. "Huh? You're magical girl Levia," I repeated in haste. "I don't watch much TV or go to the movies often, but last summer I saw your movie with some girls from the Kendo Club. I thought I'd be bored out of my mind, but it was amazing. The special effects seemed so real and you were so cool." Sure, I was milking it a bit. But my initial accidental outburst had totally undone her hostility. I guess I was banking on a devil's vanity at this point. Not a terrible assumption if you ask me, and it seemed to be working. "You're a fan?" She seemed to have forgotten all about her problem with me and was hopping with excitement. "Well, that changes everything. Tell me what part you like best. There is a sequel coming out soon, you know. I just love meeting fans." Both Lord Lucifer and Lady Gabriel looked a bit perplexed, but it was Serziches who decided to make a comment. "So you withdraw your complaint about him attending school here?" This made Seraphol hesitate for a moment before making a magical girl pose from her movie. "Of course. No fan of mine could ever be a bad guy. You'll take good care of my Sona, won't you, my funny angel?" "Funny angel?" I asked. "Of course," she replied, "you're a Joker, aren't you? So you must be funny." Her logic had everyone in attendance deadpanned. "Well, regardless, I promise that I shall do my utmost to keep your sisters from any and all harm, my lord and lady. See, Serziches, I told you he was a good boy." Seraphol patted my head and then handed me a piece of paper before backing away. "Too bad, my rival. It seems that your newest Joker has good taste." Lady Gabriel shook her head while I remained confused. "I'm sorry, Seraphol, but I still don't see you as a rival in any way." "Well, goodbye now, my number one fan. Until next time, say hi to Sona for me." Then with a flourish from Seraphol and a bow from Serziches, they were gone in a magic circle. Lady Gabriel gave me a strange look. "I wasn't aware you were such a fan of hers." I gave a slight chuckle. "Well, it was a good movie. But at first, it was just my surprise that caused my outburst. I never expected a Lord of Hell to be a movie star. But after seeing her initial reaction I played on her vanity. I guess you could say I have the devil's own luck. Lady Gabriel tried to suppress her giggle, but it seeped out. Oh, Issei, that was terrible. Well, what is it she gave you? Holding up the paper in my hand I revealed it to be a shot of her from her movie. It's an autograph. The Monday following, Gabriel had given me the weekend off to spend with my mom. The few days catching up with her were amazing. Neither of us had to hold back and we just had fun. We spent the entire fishing fund on a weekend of frivolity for just the two of us. Though we didn't do any fishing. Both of us took turns picking activities. We had both decided to go shopping and pick out a few new outfits. I was really embarrassed to be sitting outside the changing rooms waiting for my mom to try on things. One sleeveless black dress with a flowing bottom looked especially nice, and I insisted she buy it, much to her own embarrassment. Mom forced me to buy a few things she dubbed date clothes, and I had little say in the matter. We had played at an arcade, where Mom teased me about girls watching when I was playing Dance Revolution. I had been able to tease her for almost the exact same reason several minutes later. She had even made me go to a salon where we got new haircuts and pedicures. I got a light trim while Mom got a few inches taken off, making her look a little less housewife and a little more modern woman. But the fun was over and today I am back at school. I wasn't sure whether I was more looking forward to school or dreading it. But Mom was getting back out into the working world today, having previously been forbidden to work by he who is now known as Slime, and left with me looking confident in her new business attire she'd bought that weekend. So I couldn't let her down. To start the day, as usual, I approached the kendo room early, hoping that a few morning drills would prepare me for the day. Using the wooden sword felt almost awkward in my hand for a moment. I had gotten so used to manifesting light weapons or using metal swords in practical training against Griselda. It was so light it felt almost like a child's toy. Still, I decided to take it seriously and flowed through the motions with swift yet deadly execution. Almost like deja vu, I felt something collide with my sword as I performed my kata. Opening my eyes I was overwhelmed with a sense of joy. Kiba. Immediately he dropped his sword and hugged me. Issei, I'm so happy to see you alive, my friend. As happy as I was to see my friend, something felt terribly wrong. Kiba, this feeling. Are you a devil? Kiba's face turned a bit as he looked around to make sure no one else was around and then expanded two black devil wings. Yes, Issei. You are an angel now, right? I can sense it as well. Are you happy? I smiled at him. Yes, I'm very happy. What about you though? How did this happen? With a sigh of relief, his princely smile returned. I'm glad to hear that. It seems that I made the right choice. But now isn't the time to talk about these things. After school, okay? I nodded and he walked off. That was when I realized what time it was. I had to go get ready. A quick shower and then I was off to face the rest of the day. The day proceeded like normal for the most part, with only a few exceptions. First off, when I came to my desk I found it overflowing with notes and the like from well-wishers. I was overwhelmed by the concern. I had expected snickering and people to be whispering behind my back, but they all seemed so concerned and genuinely happy that I was back. I'd even overheard a few of the girls giggling that their night had returned. Two girls I vaguely knew actually went so far as to give me a hug. Heck, even our class perverts didn't have anything negative to say. Second period was English class. It seemed as an added bonus of being an angel I could now understand any language. It felt as though I was cheating, as now reading and writing the language had become second nature. After calling the teacher out twice on mistakes and receiving some dirty looks, I learned to keep my mouth shut. The last surprise came just after lunch when the student council vice president showed up at the door. Issei, Hyoudou, the student council would like to have a word with you, please, Vice President Sabaki called out to me. Her long dark hair, ample bosom and features would have been enough, but with her serious yet elegant demeanor, she was loved by both guys and girls alike. She has always struck me as some odd mix between librarian and detention teacher. It works for her though. Of course, Vice President, at once, I replied. We didn't speak as I followed her, staying just a half step behind her to respect her position. I could sense the tension in her and wanted to help. So I reached out and gently placed a hand on her shoulder. Unfortunately, that caused her to jump 2 feet in the air and squeal like a startled squirrel. With a crimson mask on her face, she turned to look at me. I did my best to emulate one of Gabriel's loving smiles. It actually seemed to work, as she suddenly relaxed and smiled back at me before carrying on. She slid the door open and, turning towards me, gave a slight bow. Please enter. As requested, I entered and took a seat. The entire student council was present. What I wasn't expecting, however, was that Riaz was also present. I gave her a small smile which she reciprocated before returning to her serious expression, letting me know things were all business for now. The student council room was like most in the school. All oak hardwood flooring and pale gray walls. The only exceptional thing was the large table for the student council meetings and the president's desk, which if I am not mistaken is larger than the one the principal of the school has. A few couches in the front for guests and small coffee table. I have come as requested, but seeing as Riaz is here, can I assume that this is not actually a school matter? It seemed only too obvious. Sona frowned, obviously not pleased that her intentions had been seen through so quickly. Indeed, Issei. We would like to know where you have been these past weeks. Riaz has informed me a bit of what has transpired, but I'd like to hear your side. So I told my story. Starting with the morning my mom gave me the $100 and ending here. They sat with fevered attention hanging on my every word. Sona seemed intrigued by the story, but as soon as I got to Yuma and then my death I could see the pain etched on her face. She felt guilty for what had come to pass. Riaz, I addressed her as I finished my explanation, I'm not mad at you. I have since learned the rules of exposing our worlds to a human. You tried to help me the only way you could, but I couldn't accept it. Thanks for trying, and I mean that sincerely. She smiled at me then, I cannot tell you how much better that makes me feel. Perhaps you truly were meant to be an angel. You are certainly forgiving enough. That being said, I would have loved to have you as part of my peerage. I've always sensed something special about you, Issei, and I'm not just referring to your power. Forgive me for being so forward, but I feel drawn to you. Devil or not, now that you are part of our world I intend to explore this. Riaz, I'm not sure what to say, I answered honestly. Sona, who had been listening patiently, spoke up, Riaz, is now really the time? Can't your flirting wait until later? Besides that, if this is your attempt to break things with Razor, I believe. Sona didn't get to finish that thought as Riaz shouted at her, Sona. I would not be so disrespectful as to use him in such a manner. My heart broke when I watched Gabriel take him, but I am far from being so shameful of a woman. Angel or not, I still don't intend this to be the end. I will handle the matter with Razor. Please do not insult me again with such insinuations. That was the first time I ever saw a look on Sona's face that was anything but straight-laced. She had seriously offended Riaz and she knew it. She looked embarrassed. Perhaps this is where I should take my leave, I suggested, however I will drop by the Orc this afternoon if that's okay, Riaz. I have a few questions in Kiba and I need to have a talk. Riaz gave me a gentle smile, of course, I look forward to it. As I walked out I turned to Sona and said one more thing, oh and Sona, your sister sends her regards. I smirked as a fierce blush passed over her face and I returned to my classroom. Or clubroom. It had been the best day of school that I could ever remember. Everything seemed to go right and everyone was so happy to see me back. I was trying to stay positive like Gabriel told me, but honestly, I was just waiting for the other shoe to drop. Entering the clubroom I found them all waiting for me. Everyone where they had been when I last ran out the door. The only difference being this time Akeno was already serving tea and Riaz seemed to be fussing with her hair. So am I late or early? I asked jovially. I was met with several excited greetings at once. Issei. My friend. Hey. That last one was Kaneko. But I'd call that real progress for us. She addressed me before I directly spoke to her. Kiba walked right up and hugged me again. I could tell he had been worried. And to be honest, I felt really guilty about how I'd left things between us. So before anything else I figured I should clear that up. Kiba, before we go any further I want to apologize. You really are my best friend and I trust you. If you could have, I'm sure you would have told me what was going on. It's just with everything that was happening I wasn't thinking clearly. Please forgive me, my friend, I bowed slightly with that. Kiba just hugged me again, there's nothing to forgive, my friend. And just like that things were good between us again. So let's get the rest of this out of the way, I insisted. From what everyone is saying I'm assuming there is more to the story from the moment I died and when I woke up in heaven. Kiba looked down embarrassed, but I placed a comforting hand on his shoulder giving him my support. Lady Gabriel was not the first one on the scene as you died. I was. That was news to me and I couldn't keep a surprised look off my face as he continued. You see, I found you there bleeding out. Sorrow had filled my entire being. My first thought was to summon Riaz and have her bring you back like me, as one of her peerage. Though that would have made you a devil. At the time I was willing to do whatever it took to save your life. However, just as I went to summon Riaz, that's when Gabriel appeared. She heard your prayer, Issei, and she told me about it. You never had really felt like you belonged with us, Issei, and I couldn't help but feel like maybe that's because we're devils. Lady Gabriel left the choice up to me as to whether let Riaz and I take you or to leave you with her. It was the second hardest decision I've ever made. I chose to let her take you. I thought you'd be happier there. I hope I was right. Kiba's voice had broken several times recounting that night. I can't help but wonder what the hardest decision he's ever made was, but I think I'll let that go for now. I can't imagine how I'd have reacted in that situation. Or how he must have felt when he let Gabriel take me. Now it was my turn to hug him. My friend, I hope I never have to make such choices. I can't imagine what life would have been like as a devil, but I can tell you that I am very happy as an angel. Thank you for giving this to me, I did my best to reassure him. A few tears left his eyes as he resumed his post at the door. I turned to Riaz to address my second bit of business there. Now on to other business. I'd like to join the orc. A few gasps filled the room, but they were cut short by a burning magic circle that had just shown up. Without even knowing what would happen next, I had a gut feeling about this moment, so this is the other shoe, huh? Now Riaz, it's time for you to come to the underworld. It is time to officially announce our engagement. A blond man with black highlights appeared from the circle. The man held himself in a way that screamed arrogance. His red blazer with a white shirt and black pants were all somewhat disheveled. Nothing tucked in or worn neatly. He kept his chin high and his shirt unbuttoned halfway. Whoever this man was trying to impress, we obviously were not his target audience. He proceeded to walk forward and reach out to Riaz. I felt somewhat disgusted as he placed his hands on her in an all too familiar fashion. She was obviously displeased as she stepped away from him. How many times do I have to tell you, Riaz, sir? I don't care who has said what. I will not marry you. You are the most loathsome man I have ever encountered. I don't care if we were the last two devils in existence, I would rather we go extinct before I marry you, she rebuked him. The man she called Razor looked offended but not deterred. Razor will get what Razor wants. Even if Razor has to roast the rest of your peerage to ashes to get it. All of Ria's peerage drew their weapons or exuded an aura of hostility against him. I, for my part, was doing my very best to not get involved. That was until Razor snapped his fingers. Fire erupted all around the room. Using my aura that I'd been learning as a natural defense, I could keep it at bay. I hate to admit it, but for him to exude such power without even seemingly using magic was impressive. The flames seemed to spring forth from his very presence. It makes me wonder how powerful he is. It seemed like Akeno was fine as well. Tiba and Kaneko, however, were not so fortunate. They batted at the flames, but they just grew larger on their arms and legs. Enough. Against my better judgment, or for lack of it, I expanded my 4 wings and doused all of the flames with my light magic. Everyone in the room shunned away a bit, but I cooled it off as soon as the fire went out. You have set foot where you are obviously not welcome. As an angel of heaven, I request you leave at once. No man should be so disrespectful of women. Especially not his betrothed, I commanded. Razor had no way of knowing about my pet peeve when it came to the treatment of women, so he continued to dig his own grave. You consort with angels now, Riaz. My how you dirty the name of the Gremory family. And you, boy, I will treat my women how I like. Riaz shall become my trophy, and after we wed and I take her, I shall do what I wish with her or whatever woman I desire. I am a high-class devil, swine. You're a high-class devil, pig. No point in rising to his bait, so I decided to take control of the conversation. That doesn't sound special. What's powerful about devil pigs? Sounds tasty actually. No, I mean I'm no pig, fool. His whole rant ended up being some kind of yell stutter. I never called you a foolish pig, just a devil pig. Excuse me, a high-class devil pig, I corrected him. You damned angel. I'll fry you. Razor raised a fist, but suddenly another presence entered the room. Suddenly a woman with beautiful silver hair and a maid costume stepped forward. Lord Razor, I believe that is enough. Does the House of Phoenix wish to be responsible for a war with heaven? Of course not, he shrugged, quelling his anger. If the ultimate queen requests it, I have no choice but to agree. Whoever this woman was at that moment, I understood that she commanded fierce respect. Turning to me, she bowed. Forgive the sudden intrusion. Lord Serzich's Lucifer tells me that you are the Red Dragon Emperor, Issei Hyoudou, Joker of Heaven. Great, she had to go and use the full title. Yes, that is correct, and you are. She drops into a low curtsy. I am a maid of the Gremory house. My name is Graphia. It is a pleasure. No, I bowed in return. The pleasure is all mine. Issei Hyoudou, she continued, Lord Serzich's has a proposal for you. I tilted my head slightly. If so, then I would hear it. She smiled lightly. In an attempt to further the peace between heaven and hell, we proposed to have a rating game. We still have to get approval from heaven, of course. But we thought it would be of great interest for a sparring match between the Great Phoenix and Heavenly Dragon. If you are victorious, he is prepared to grant you one wish. Lord Lucifer was as clever as he was wise. He knew that after seeing the situation I would want to help Riaz, and he was right. With that wish, I could free her from this and any future arranged marriage. Truthfully, though, I think that any attempt to garner goodwill between the 3 factions should be taken. I accept. Riaz then jumped forward. Wait for a second here, Issei. I don't need others fighting my battles for me. Razor then stepped in. Come now, Riaz. He is a grown man. Let him make decisions for himself. Fear not, Riaz, I assured her. This is all to further peace after all. Graphia bowed. Lord Lucifer will be most pleased to hear this. I shall return to inform him at once. After the details are worked out in heaven, we shall have our match. Usually this is done between peerages, but in this case, we will do one-on-one. If all works out, we plan to have our match in 3 weeks. Lord Razor, shall we? As you say. Until next time my Rias, I wait until the day when I make your body mine, he said as he warped away. Tiba, who had cleaned himself off a bit, touched my shoulder. Do you think you can put those away now? I hadn't realized that I'd had my wings out all that time, sorry about that. Rias stepped forward, her face uncertain, but she hugged me. You fool. How could you do this? You don't owe me anything. After I failed to save your life you still go this far for me. Maybe it was denying the truth. Maybe she knew that. But I wasn't going to let her carry this weight on her shoulders. Nevertheless, I gladly returned the hug. Rias, I said, causing her to retreat from me slightly, this is all for peace, remember. Don't feel like I'm doing this for you. Admittedly I don't like him, but that's about how he treats women, you see, nothing to do with you. Rias looked on at me unconvinced. So what will you wish for if you win? Oh, well crap, she caught me. Angels aren't selfish, you see. So it would be best if I made a wish for someone else. So seeing how upset this marriage made you, then I'd wish for you to be kept from an arranged marriage and to let you pick your own future husband. Love isn't something people should be forced into after all. She embraced me again quickly and gave me a peck on the cheek and whispered into my ear, I've learned enough about you to know one thing. If it was just a random wish for anyone, you'd wish something for your mother. I know you are doing this for me. The blush crept across my face. I couldn't deny it anymore. Still, she looked worried. Issei, Razor is not weak. I am impressed by your 4 wings and display of power there, but I don't know if you can win. For all his foolishness he still has the power of the immortal phoenix. He has never lost a match. I looked at my hands, as I am right now I doubt I can win. Then what will you do, she exclaimed. I smirked in response, time for some training. But the small wave, I disappeared in a cross of light. Informing Lord Michael about things, easy. Taking another week off school for training, unpleasant but doable. Telling all of this to Griselda and asking for help with training, oh crap. You did what? She shouted for the 12th time. I sighed, having to repeat myself again. During a meeting with the daughter of Surzich's Lucifer and her peerage, a man showed up named Razor. He started acting like a royal prick and almost molesting Rias, who he claims is his fiancée. I just couldn't take it and then attack everyone in the room, so that's when I acted. Shortly after, a woman by the name of Grafia entered, the queen of Lord Surzich's, and informed me that he proposed a rating game where Razor and I would fight. If I win I am to be granted a wish. As I am, I do not believe I can win, so I need your help. Finally, she sighed, I can't believe you. An angel for less than a month and you're picking fights with devils. Didn't we have a talk about you being on your best behavior? Yes. And didn't you promise me you would? Yes, I did, but and is this your best behavior? She cut me off while raising her voice. No, but again I didn't finish my sentence as she smacked upside my head. Obviously, Griselda wasn't done though. Do you know how much trouble you caused Lady Gabriel? All I could do was hang my head now. The last thing I wanted to do was trouble Gabriel. I couldn't help it though, this was something I have to do. Look Griselda, finally I raised my voice to match hers, I know what I'm doing is foolish. I hate that it may trouble Lady Gabriel, but I can't help it. When I see someone in trouble I act. I can't help it. Please understand that much. So will you train me or not? That was when a sadistic grin crossed Griselda's face, making me regret my decision to ask her for help. Oh, I'll train you, Issei. I'll train you so hard that your match will feel like a merciful break from what I'm going to put you through. Get ready. The training arena in heaven looks sort of like the Colosseum in Rome. A huge arena surrounded by a circular seating amphitheater. The columns and architecture were truly a sight to behold. Unfortunately, I'm a little too busy decorating the dirt arena with my blood to really appreciate it, as Griselda knocks me to the ground again with the butt of her sword. Whenever we train, for whatever reason she likes to use solid weapons and not light magic. She says it makes us stronger. Keep up your guard, Issei, or I'll hit you every time, Griselda scolded me again. The truth was, after the first 8 hours I could barely keep my arms up. Now that we were reaching the 14-hour mark I could barely keep on my feet. Griselda, however, still looked spry and ready to go. You know, a break would be nice every so often, I whined. Again she lunged at me and I was forced to parry. Do you think the enemy will give you a break? Honestly, I'd lost count of how many times I'd heard that from her. I know that, but we've been at this for about 14 hours. Doesn't that entitle me to a break? You can have a break when you hit me, she shouted at me as she began her next attack, only for it to be caught in midair. Both our eyes suddenly turned to meet Lady Gabriel. How someone that powerful can just sneak up on me is just creepy. As she stood there I noticed she wasn't wearing her normal heavenly robes, but a professional all-white tracksuit. She had a whistle around her neck and an unusual grin on her face. I think that's quite enough for the moment, Griselda, Gabriel chided her. We don't take our frustrations out on others, do we? No, my lady, Griselda replied sheepishly. But then, Griselda beamed, now Issei, take an hour to cool off, and then you and I shall begin some special training. Weakly, I nodded. The relief from a break poured over me and flopped back on the ground. Lady Gabriel and Griselda looked over my now unconscious body. Griselda, did you train him so hard that the moment he stopped he passed out? Something between her smile and the sound of her voice sent chills down Griselda's spine. Well yes, it would appear so. I think you and I need to have a heart-to-heart about how we treat our juniors, Gabriel with a voice that held little of its usual loving compassion. A few hours later, when I finally came to again I could tell that the day had waned on a bit. The sun seemed to be a bit lower in the sky, and I was still in the arena. I can vaguely recall being told I could take a break and then nothing. I must have fallen asleep while taking a break. I can't believe Griselda let me sleep this long. It wasn't where I was or how I got there that surprised me though, it was that my head was currently resting in Lady Gabriel's lap. Startled I tried to sit up only for Gabriel to run her fingers through my hair, calming me down. I took a few more deep breaths before finally relaxing in her lap. The gentle aura she exudes enveloping me. Finally awake I see, she whispered to me. I nodded in reply. Well good. As much as I enjoyed this you have much training to do before facing the Phoenix. There are only two ways that I'm aware of to beat the immortal bird. The first is to completely dominate it with power. The second is to beat it down mentally and physically. An enemy that has lost the will to fight can no longer use its power, Gabriel explained. I smiled up at her, you know you shouldn't spoil me so much. I'll get used to it and be insufferable. Oh well then shall we have a talk about why you are doing this? Her voice remained light, but there was something just beneath the surface of her tone that made me realize I was in dangerous waters. I thought carefully about how to answer that question, it would be a lie to say it isn't for Rias. Just not exactly in the way everyone might be thinking. I won't lie and say that I don't find Rias to be a beautiful woman. Though that wouldn't be enough to get me involved. If you could have seen the look on her face you'd understand. That man, that garbage was talking about her like she was an object. Like he owned her. I don't know what devil society is like, but I don't care. She's a woman and she deserves to be happy. To be able to choose the man who she wants to spend her life with. Don't we all want that? I watched as Gabriel shook her head, you continue to amaze me. So it's not just your mother, but all women. Are you on some crusade for feminism? I knew she was joking, but still, you know that includes you too, right? The surprise was written on her face as she replied, goodness, the things you say. So what exactly are you going to do for me? That simple, I replied with my signature smile, spend the rest of my life making sure you stay happy. What else could I do for the woman who saved my life? Her blush was light, but I'd learned to catch these small reactions from her. I think you've avoided training long enough, Issei. Time to get back to it. I will be training you for now, be ready. Gabriel's training was entirely different from Griselda's. Griselda had beaten combat training into me until the point that all of my reflexes are finely honed. Gabriel, however, was less concerned about that. So far I had not paid much attention to my sacred gear. I knew it was there but had been more focused on my angelic abilities that were readily available. We then spent the next several hours meditating. To know your enemy, one must start by knowing themselves. You, Issei Hyoudou, still don't truly know yourself. A power sleeps within you that you must awaken if you are to overcome your current trial. Succeed in this and become the Joker I know you can be. I heard her voice as I feel into my own consciousness. To fall, it is such a quiet thing. An empty darkness that consumes everything. When I looked around I could see nothing. But I could hear something. The first thing was a fire, a burning that I could not define. It sounded like 1,000 bonfires. What came next, however, was far more disturbing. It sounded like metal plates grinding against each other. Hello, I called into the blackness, is anyone there? So boy. After all this time you come here thirsting for my power. This power you seek, what would you do with it? The voice was loud and deep. A great tone carried through the darkness. I am Issei Hyoudou. I am a Joker of heaven. I would have your power and use it to protect everyone who is precious to me, I shouted in reply. I've heard it before. Yet all eventually succumb to the hunger. You are never satisfied with a taste. You must always have more. When is it enough? When are you satisfied? There was something to his question. It seemed to answer itself. So what was he looking for if he'd heard all the answers? Let me show you. A deep rumbling sound echoed through the darkness that might have been laughter. Interesting. Very interesting. Actions are what makes a man after all. Show me then, show me what kind of red dragon emperor you will become. When I truly opened my eyes again I was still sitting in the Colosseum with Gabriel. It felt like maybe minutes had passed, but dawn was already breaking on a new day. Gabriel was sitting there smiling at me. Had she just been waiting patiently this whole time? Her smile was brighter than the morning sun. Then I noticed she was pointing down. Upon inspection, I discovered I was covered in a red aura. What is this? I uttered my thoughts aloud. This, she chuckled, is the beginning. Your sacred gear is now becoming attuned with your body and soul. Think hard, Issei. What is power to you? What makes you feel powerful? I held up my left fist and clenched it tight. Power, the ability to defeat any opponent. No. That's wrong. That's just what guys like my father and Razor would think. They equate power with a clenched fist ready to strike, but I'm not like them. Power is freedom. The freedom to make choices and do what you want. For Lady Gabriel, it was the choice to revive me despite what others might think. For Mom, it is being free of my father and being able to do the things she never could before. For Riaz, it is the being able to make her own choices. We all want the freedom to do the things we think are right. My power is being the wings to carry those I care for to their freedom. My power is, I shouted as to great red dragon wings with green jewels erupted from my back. Amazing, Gabriel squealed in excitement, simply amazing, Issei. You've done it, congratulations. I blushed a bit and rubbed the back of my head. I wasn't embarrassed by what she said really. Moreover, her excitement caught me off guard. Congrats, partner. You have taken the first steps to becoming the Red Dragon Emperor. From my first possessor until you, I have always taken the shape of a gauntlet. You have already lived up to your word. You truly are unlike all who have come before you. Time will tell if that is for better or worse. As your partner, I will be here for you to help you grow. You may call me Drake. Thanks, Drake. Drake, this is the woman who I owe my life to, Lady Gabriel. Lady Gabriel, this is my dragon partner Drake. Introducing someone to a non-corporeal being was weird but seemed appropriate given the circumstances. It's been a long time, Drake. Gabriel spoke with a familiarity I had not expected. So my partner serves heaven this time. Well, this is different, that's for certain. Last I saw you, I believe you were hiding behind your father, shaking like a leaf as the white one, and I tore through the sky. Lady Gabriel's face lit up at Drake's words. Oh, don't talk like that. I was so young then. Issei doesn't listen to him. I simply stood at my father's side as these two savage dragons destroyed anything and everything in their paths. Calming herself down, Gabriel sighed before speaking again. Perhaps it's time to let the past rest. Since your current wielder is on the side of heaven, shall we work together now? Would you aid us as we strive for peace, or is destruction all you crave? You are an impudent little brat. Still, I admire your courage, even if I am trapped in here. I will support my partner in whatever he wishes, be it the salvation of heaven or its ruin. I'd finally heard enough. Okay, that's enough, you two. I will be staying by Gabriel's side and fighting for heaven. I pray we build a peace that lasts. Until then, I shall fight for all of those precious to me. A few hours later, boosted gear training was something new altogether. Unfortunately, of the few others in heaven who had boosted gears, none were free to help me. So Drake started by giving me a rundown of my powers. Just having me equipped, all of your basic abilities will be stronger, but until you get stronger, you will only have access to 2 unique abilities. First is Boost. This ability grants the wielder double power every 10 seconds. What you have accumulated sufficient power, you release it through your body. This is called Explosion. Doubling my power every 10 seconds, that's unreal. The power like that can't be infinite, I deduced. Correct. Your body can only hold so much power. Before we go into battle, we had best figure out what your maximum number of boosts is beforehand. First, let's just use the ability. Get a training dummy and let's use a regular attack on it. Following his instructions, I brought out a sword training dummy and took my stance. At my side, I rested my hand as if on a sheath and summoned light energy. In Kendo, my favorite set of techniques were in the school of Hyoudou, or more precisely, Batajutsu. It focuses on techniques where the blade is pulled directly from the sheath into an attack, creating more speed and force than a regular swing. Strike. As commanded, I dashed forward and cut straight through the pole and dummy. Quite satisfied, I went through the motion of sheathing my light blade. Very good, not bring out a new dummy. This time use a single boost and make one strike straight down. Again, as I was told, I brought out a new dummy and set it up. I willed my new power to activate and almost jumped as it did. Boost. Explosion. Energy coursed through my body in a rush that I've never experienced. It feels exhilarating. Greg, I feel like I could crush this thing with my bare hands, I boast, unable to contain my own excitement. That's good, but for now let's just slash. Following his lead, I slashed down, focusing more on speed than power. I was surprised when the dummy displayed no physical damage. Greg. What's going on here? It's not even hurt. My confusion was a given when I honestly hadn't even felt resistance during my slash. Wait for it. No sooner had he finished speaking did the dummy split in two. Holy cry, I covered my mouth, unsure if I should really finish that sentence. Upon closer inspection, I realized I had cut the thing so clean the wood hadn't even splintered. The wood looked smooth as if it had been freshly sanded. Reaching out with my fingers and stroking the wood, I found that it was every bit as smooth as it looked. With half the effort of my first swing, I multiplied my destructive force. When you use explosion and send that energy through your body, you empowered your strength and your magic. So the light sword you created was that much stronger as well. That slash you used was 4 times its original power as it combined your physical and magical strength. If you had continued boosting, the power would have increased. Now I think it's time to show you the second power. I thought explosion was the second power. No. Explosion is merely the activation of boost, nothing more, nothing less. Alright, I'm ready. What's next? That's the spirit. For the next demonstration, we will be doing 2 steps. First, let's work with the self-modification. Anything and everything in you can be strengthened. This technique works similar to boost, but has a more direct effect. It is called transfer. It starts the same as when you normally boost your power, but this time I want you to use your new ability to transfer your power to your inner ear. Alright, let's do this. Drag. Boost. A familiar rush hit me again. Transfer. I could feel the power focusing itself. All of a sudden my ears felt like they were being bombarded with 1,000 sounds at once. My head was pounding and it was all I could do to keep from passing out. Calm down, partner. You need to focus. Your hearing is now greatly magnified. Focus in and try to separate the sounds. It wasn't all at once, but slowly I could feel the pressure in my head subsiding. Sounds began to grow clearer and more crisp. Then as I focused in, I could differentiate them from one another. Collapsing to my knees in relief, sweat poured from my brow. I can hear them, all of the sounds around me. I think I've got it. Drag. I can hear all of the sounds and voices. I can hear the spirits in 3rd heaven living their lives and even the seraphs in 6th heaven. I can hear enthralled with this new ability, I was carelessly surfing the noises until I happened upon a conversation between 2 angels in 1st heaven. Greg. I uttered lifelessly. Yeah, partner. Did you catch that conversation too? Of course. Greg. What is it? Reflexively I swallow the building lump in my throat. I really don't think angels are supposed to talk that way. I'm no authority on the matter, but Smart Money says he's gonna fall for sure. All I can do is nod. Cleaning the arena up, I got myself cleaned up and headed out. At that moment my head was swimming about a lot of things, but one thing was for sure. I was done for the day. The next few days progressed much in the same way. Griselda would unleash her own version of boot camp on me. It did vary a bit day by day, but the theme was training my body. She made sure that as soon as my opponent's muscles started moving to attack that I was right there, ready to intercept and counter. Gabriel would then step in and help train me in magic and incorporating my sacred gear into fighting. I found that my body could handle 32 boosts. Drake informed me that was an excellent starting point. It still didn't feel like enough. Somehow I think that Gabriel can read minds because every time I started beating myself up or doubting my strength, she would comfort me. That being said, I tried not to do that often. The version of making up for lost time training could probably give a devil nightmares. Guess I could ask Kiba about that. Finally, the night before the match came. Griselda and Gabriel ordered me to take the day off. They said my muscles and magical power both needed rest and a chance to recuperate. I had spent the day wandering around heaven. Most people gave me respectful greetings as I passed. I wonder what people think of me now. I can't help but feel like I'm still trying to find a place to fit in. Back in the same white pavilion where I had met Gabriel a week prior, I lay on my back gazing up into the moonlight. Some people may hate this feeling, but honestly, I love feeling like a small part of something much grander. All of the stars and planets in the sky make me feel like I am a part of something amazing. I continued to lay there resting comfortably until a voice brought me out of my reverie. Can I join you? Her beauty shining in the moonlight was almost blinding. Blonde hair cascading down white robes. Pale skin set against striking blue eyes. I couldn't be sure, but honestly, it looks like she is glowing. Only one word escaped my lips, a name: Gabriel. You seem to be in awfully deep thought, my Issei. She addressed me normally, but her voice held that knowing lilt to it. How? I asked. How what, my dear? She was going to play ignorant. How do you always know? Every time I am hurting or worrying or feeling any kind of doubt, you are always there. You don't have any kind of Spanish pesetas that I know of, so how? My tone sounded frustrated even to my ears. I have always prided myself on my ability to hide my pain after all. She didn't answer with words. Instead, she approached me and sat beside me, gesturing for me to place my head in her lap. I hate to admit it, but I was getting way too comfortable laying in her lap. Still, I complied. As I lay there, she looked down at me. Her innocent features highlighted by the slivers of moonlight that made its way through the breaches in her hair that now surrounded both of our faces. I don't know that I've ever had such a genuine smile on my face as the one she gave me now. Completely enraptured, I was unaware that she was moving until she had grabbed my right hand and placed it on her chest just above her heart. Likewise, she placed her hand on my chest. I say, she whispered, when you hurt, I hurt. When you are in pain, I am in pain. When you were a human, there was nothing I could truly do to help you. All that changed when you became an angel. I've said it once and I'll say it again, you will never again know loneliness, you will never suffer alone again. From now to eternity I will be by your side. Should all heaven turn against you, I would not. But I choked on whatever I was about to say and could only muster the strength for one more word, why. I'm not sure why she chose that moment to look away. Probably to give me a chance to compose myself. I wasn't going to cry. I won't let myself. Still, that didn't mean my face didn't show exactly what I am feeling. I watched as her smile softened. Her face was one of wistful recollection. All the while she ran her fingers through my hair. I really wish I could tell what she was feeling. I couldn't keep doing nothing, so I reached out and put my hand on her cheek. Her reaction was immediate and she slightly jerked back. Gabriel composed herself quickly before she answered me. I think it's kind of the same as why you are fighting the Phoenix. It's not something I have to do, but to me, it's something I just can't not do. Whenever I feel you hurting, I just reach out. That's really all there is to it. It was amazing that while her answer didn't really explain anything, I understood perfectly. Of course, I didn't have to fight for Riaz. I was in no way forced to get involved, but when I saw her treated that way, it hurt something inside of me. I had to respond. I even tried to hold back until he started hurting others. She's saying that even though she has the choice, she wouldn't be herself if she didn't. That doesn't exactly answer why it seems that she's so fixated on me and my issues, but for now, I think that's enough. While I was in thought, Gabriel stroked my cheek. Hey Issei, if I was ever in trouble, would you come and save me too? I didn't even have to think. I couldn't answer right away though, as I started to chuckle, that chuckle turning into a laugh, which turned into a full-blown giggle fit. Gabriel didn't look amused at my outburst, but I couldn't stop it if I wanted to. Just about that was funny, she asked with a look that I could only describe as a pouting princess. It's just, I stopped and took a breath, that you even had to ask is hilarious. Gabriel, if you are in trouble, I will stand by you. If every being on heaven and earth turn against you, I'll stand by you. If it costs me my life, I'll stand by you. Even if the day came when you hated me and cast me aside, I would stand by you. You didn't just save my life and my mother's life, by the way, you gave me a home, the one thing I've wanted all my life. So yes Gabriel, I'd save you every time. I also return your promise, as long as I live you will never be alone. Our silence echoed the night as we sat there slightly resting against each other. These moments that I have with Gabriel sound so empty but leave me feeling so full. Honestly, I'm afraid to say anything because I don't want to ruin it. Whatever tomorrow has in store, I'm not afraid. End of the here. So that's it for today's video guys. Before you go, just like the video and share it with your friends. Bye.